G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the very first round of the brand new FIA Manufacturers Series in the Exhibition Series, kicking off 2021. First thing to note, if you have a look on the leaderboard there is some Asian flags, some Asian players, Japanese, and somebody in 5th, not quite sure what country that is, but yes, you can see we have been combined with Asia, so we're back to Asia-Oceania rather than Asia and Oceania. So that's still the case for nations. We're only racing in Australia for nations, but for manufacturers, they've combined. And because of that, we see an increase in players, and honestly, the skill difference between Japan and Australia is it's quite big. So a load of really quick Japanese players used to race on their own, so we didn't have to compete, but now we're together, which means that I'm at the bottom of second split is what I think I'm in. But here we go for qualifying. We're of course at Interlagos in Group 3. Of course I've chosen Toyota again, because I understand how the car works and I like driving it, so that's why. I've got a really nice livery on it as well, so it's just all compounding together for a lovely campaign with Toyota. Good thing about this manufacturer series, just before we speak about that, however, please do have a look at my qualifying lap. We'll just follow along. We're in the slipstream at the moment, and another thing to note, 5-minute qualifying session. You've just about got enough time for 2 laps, but you can quite easily miss your second lap. And you can see we completely mess up Sen S on our qualifying lap, so just have a look and see how we finish that one up. But we'll go back to talking about the Manufacturers Series. Because there's a lot more players, there's a lot more time slots now, which is great. I was really wanting this, so the only thing is the slots are so late in the day. I was kind of hoping to see maybe 5 slots starting at maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then like maybe 2-hour increments to each slot, so you get some of the late afternoon, mid-afternoon, late afternoon time for some people to play, and then people with different schedules can play later in the evening in the later slots. So that's what I was wanting, but they haven't really given us exactly that. They have given us 5 slots, but the first slot is at 8 o'clock at night, where I am here, which means the last slot is 20 past 1 in the morning. So I obviously want to try and have a good race in the first 2 and at least 3 slots. I really wouldn't want to go any later than the 3rd slot, just because I end up spending half the night on this game, which I don't really want to do. I just want to get my race done early, and there's more points in the first slot too, because more people go for the first slot, so there's more points up for grabs. Come across the line there, 1:31.0. I actually go around another time, so if you have enough time, you can go back to the pits and do another out lap and a fast lap, but I didn't have enough time in that instance, so I just had to continue with my tyres. And I had a pretty poor qualifying lap, 1:31.0. I managed a 1:29.5 in time trial, and you can see we come across the line, 1:30.9, only a 1.5 improvement there. So an overall pretty poor qualifying session for me. I could definitely go a lot faster than a 1:30.9. And as we have a look at the start of the grid here, 19th. I'm 1 position off last. Now, that's not where I want to be. Granted, I am in the second split with the most players, but I definitely know I can do better than 19th, even though I do have car number 19. If you have a look on my bonnet, number 19 facing forwards. I knew I could qualify better than this, especially if we actually managed to take advantage of the slipstream, which we have not done at the start of this race. I decided to use fuel map 6, but because there was a slight incline where I initially set off in auto drive, I didn't have enough grunt to sort of get the speed up, but thankfully everyone sort of bunches up at turn 1, back in the slipstream of the VW Beetle up ahead, and as we nearly completely lose control there, does Iron Mask get that underlap? He does, so yes, he's going to make his way past as we head down the Rita Riposta, I believe so. I'm probably not going to run side by side this early in the race, and that is the case. I do allow him in ahead so I can take the corner normally, but here we go, 20th out of 20. It can't get any worse from here at least, and I only have car number 19, so if I do end up finishing here, I won't lose too much DR anyway. So let's just see how this race goes. And because this race is at 8 o'clock at night, and it was on one of my days off from work, so I basically practiced all afternoon, did a couple of practice races in a lobby, and a practice race run in time trial before the slot, just to test out a strategy. So strategy is a big one. This is a big strategy race, this. 3 tyres are available, all 3 are mandated, and you've got fuel in there, and it's a factor. It's quite a big factor. So what you want to try and do is you want to get your fuel to last at least 13 laps at the start. Some cars can do that without really that much fuel saving, and others really need to fuel save. But just as we get onto that topic, we're going to overtake this VW Beetle down the main straight, and we're going to complete the move in the braking zone for turn 1. So while that occurs, have a look at the battle up ahead. About 4 players going in all together into turn 1, but we are at least up in 19th again, having dispatched the VW Beetle behind. Good thing about the Supra here is you have to short shift this car anyway. Even in outright pace situations, you shift at about 75 to 80%. For this race here, I brought the shift point back to about 50% along the rev bar, and that was honestly enough. Some cars have to use fuel mapping through the middle sector in order to really eke out that fuel, but the Supra is quite suited to fuel saving as you're short shifting anyway, so even a slightly lesser short shift compared to its regular 80%, there's really not much power deficit there, so I'm quite lucky in the sense that I don't have to worry about fuel so much. So this car can do 13 laps on fuel without any real fuel saving techniques. I will of course take the opportunity to fuel save if I can, so if I'm stuck in the slipstream of someone, I'll short shift more, or I might even use a little bit of fuel mapping in the middle sector if I am stuck behind a slower car. That will of course reduce my refill time at my second pit stop. So the main strategy, while we have a look at another overtake, another repeat move as we did on the VW lap previous, we make our way ahead of the Jaguar up into 18th position. So you can see at this point I'm actually quite racy, even having started on the hardest tyre of the 3. So you can see we passed 2 cars, each within the space of 2 laps, or each on consecutive laps, and we're just going to focus on catching up to this McLaren, which didn't quite happen until lap 5. But while we have a look at this, the main strategy is a 7 soft, 7 medium, 6 hard is what you want to do. You can do that in kind of any order you like, but I like to save the softest tyres for the end with the lightest fuel. I've felt as though in my practice races, soft tyres at the start, the heavy car just absolutely melted through those soft tyres, and they were really nowhere on lap 6 and 7 of the stint. So I decided to either start on a medium or a hard tyre. I started pretty much right at the back for this race, which is why I was on the hard tyre to begin with. So I'm going to do 6 laps on the hard, and then I'm going to 7 mediums for my second stint. No refueling on that first pit stop, and then I'm going to come in after 7 laps on the medium, put on the soft tyres, and refuel to the end of the race. That's the strategy I'm going for. If I started near the front of the field, I probably would have started on mediums, did 7 mediums, then 6 hard, and then finished it off with the soft and the refuel on the last stop. But there's heaps of variation, loads of variation. Some cars can't quite make 7 laps on the soft tyres. That Honda, I know, that's ahead of me at the moment, is not very strong on its tyres, so it may struggle to get 7 laps out of the soft. The Supra, honestly, probably struggles with 7 laps, but I did go ahead with that anyway. I didn't really feel like I was fast enough at the end of any of my other tyre stints that I could replace that slowest soft tyre lap with an extra lap on a different stint. So I didn't really feel like there was a particular benefit or a particular reason to only do 6 laps on the soft in the Toyota. So I decided to, as we've discussed, start on the harder tyres and do the 6 hard, 7 medium, 7 soft. Speaking of pit stops, end of lap 6, that's 6 laps on the hard tyre. We're going to head into the pits for the medium stint now. The second stint of the race on the medium tyres. Recent update of this game has extended the pit lane loss by an absolute age, maybe about, honestly, to be like 5 times as long almost. So, there's really no space, there's really no opportunity for extra strategies like extra pit stops, like a funky 3-stop or something. It is a 2-stop race and everybody has to do a 2-stop, because if you put an extra pit stop in there, you're not going to gain that time loss back now because the pit lane loss is so big. But we come out of the pits behind Captain Muffin in the Hyundai. We're going to fast forward this lap here as we're just warming up onto our medium tyres. Pretty firmly on the back of Captain Muffin at this point, so we're going to come out of this corner here and we have the firm slipstream of Captain Muffin, and that's going to prove pretty good by the end of this straight. So the Supra quite good in a straight line, Hyundai not so great but not too bad. But given that we do have the slipstream advantage, Andy leaves the space open on the inside, we're going to send it up there, and I know I'm on brand new tyres and I feel like I'm faster, but as we round out turn 1, he comes for the cutback up on the inside, and I just leave him enough room on the exit of turn 2 there. Quite a strong move by me. I actually had the fuel map on instead of the radar, which didn't help my case there, but I knew I had to get past him. I knew I'd just come out of the pits, so I was a little bit forceful with that one, but you can see I'm driving away from him. So we come round past the pits at the end of lap 8, start of lap 9, few more people in the pits as we round turn 1, so we're going to gain a couple of positions. As we round out turn 3, I'm in 14th position at the moment. Does anybody else come out of the pits? There is one car coming out of the pits. Actually, we equalise into 16th position. And there is a car up ahead, that's Iron Mask, who started behind me. And you can see a few more people in the pits as we come around for the next tour of Interlagos here. So, having a look at Iron Mask, he started behind me, and that BMW Z4 he's driving, honestly, brave choice, by the way. Normally, if you go for BMW as your manufacturer, you choose the M6. But rarely you see the Z4 or the M3 chosen. So, fair play for Iron Mask choosing sort of a lesser performing car in the BMW Z4 there. We're going to follow on with this lap here, and honestly, the Toyota Supra is quite a good car in Group 3 compared to that Z4, which is quite a bad car. There is a fair inherent performance difference between the two. That's taking out the drivers, so let's just hypothetically say that I'm faster than Iron Mask in any car. If I've then got a stronger car than Iron Mask, the pace difference is going to be massive. And then on top of that, you have tyre difference. I've no idea what tyre he's on. He could potentially be on the hard tyre, which is possible. However, he did start behind me, and I would expect someone who starts right at the very rear of the grid to want to start on the hard tyres. So I can probably presume he's on mediums. But as we round out turn 12, I keep referring to this as the final corner as well. It's actually not. There's 3 more corners after it. But it's all flat out after turn 12 there. So we're going to duck into the slipstream of Iron Mask, and as we head up the main straight, it's going to be a fairly clear-cut move. He moves over to the right-hand side, he just takes the racing line, no attempt to defend that one. I think he understands that I'm faster at this part of the race here, and to make my way past. And we managed to just stop it on the apex there. We ran a little touch wide, not touching the curb on the apex, but we didn't slide way deep, which it looked like we were going to do. But on the exit of turn 3, that BMW Z4 is dropping off a little bit. So we're just going to flash ahead and have a look at this here. Powell just goes across that second apex and just cuts it. It was so borderline. Honestly, if you look on that close-up that I edited in, it looked like he had 2 wheels on the curb, but clearly he didn't, as the following lap he serves a penalty halfway down the Rita Aposta, and we make up that position into 13th. And this is what begins quite a painful ending to this race. So I'm up in 13th at the moment. I've still got another pit stop to do, which we do at the end of lap 13. So if we have a look at some of the competitors around us, so I go into the pits with 8%. Sashimi in 10th goes in with 22%. He's done a monster job at fuel saving, and that he will have a way shorter stop than me. So that's the, you know, that is the trade-off. I'm not really fuel saving that much, so I do have a longer fuel, refuel period compared to someone that might go complete outright 100% fuel saving. They're going to have a really short pit stop. So it just comes down to what you think you can gain the most time out of. I felt as I could gain the most time just by driving the car how I normally would, because it is quite good on its fuel in terms of this race settings here. But we come out of the pits, 16th, iron mask behind. I'm light on brand new soft tyres. I have to keep this position. I don't want to get stuck behind the BMW, so I'm defending for my life at this corner. I do have cold soft tyres, so there probably was the opportunity for the BMW to get past, but I knew if he did get past, as soon as we reached that middle sector, I would have been stuck behind. Now, the final stint was really quite quiet. We made up a couple more positions on the next couple of laps after my pit stop, and I found myself in 13th. And we're behind this bit of a train here, and this is the really painful part of this race. I'm so close to this train of 3 cars. I can see 10th right ahead of me. It's just around the corner. Honestly, if I just gained 2 extra seconds in an earlier portion of this race, I could probably have 10th. But as we round this final corner, the slipstream is paramount in this situation, as I want to be on the back of this train. I want to have the opportunity to fight for 10th. If, having started 19th, if I could get to 10th, that would be fantastic. But no, on the exit of turn 12, 8 tenths behind him, because everyone else is in the slipstream ahead of me. They're just going to gain time if I'm not in the slipstream. Following lap, we can see, look at the train. Like, that is the pain train. Honestly, I was just in the slipstream, but because I got a poor exit having worn tyres, I just lost it. The car up ahead, Jaguar, quite good in a straight line also, so he drives away from me. The following lap, look at this train. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars, all in a slipstream train, and then there's me just trailing off the back about 1/10 out of slipstream. And this is where the title of today's video comes from. This is the pain train. I'm in 13th. Granted, I didn't start 19th, so I can't complain too much, but I had the opportunity to gain all those positions if only I could just get onto the back of the slipstream. Once again, another poor exit out of turn 12, in that Ford Mustang, obviously pretty good in a straight line. Having the slipstream off the guy in 12th, a guy in 11th, my apologies. He drives away from me too, so I couldn't do anything. I was stuck in 13th, just a tiny bit off the slipstream, but as we round out coming through, that's turn 14 on that occasion, the Mustang goes very wide, picks himself up a penalty like 2 seconds before the end of the race, and I do manage to nab 12th off him. But what a disappointing end. Honestly, that was just, it was so painful, the end of that race. I was in physical pain. Oh man, you can see the disappointment my driver looking at the front of that Toyota, and I honestly felt the exact same way looking on in similar disappointment at my driver, looking on in disappointment at my car. A lot of disappointment going on with only 158 points, but I knew I had to go again. I knew I could do a lot better, because we have a look in this practice session, no tyre wear here, but what's that, 7 129s in a row, and that was a really hot stint there. Obviously no tyre wear, no fuel use, that's your optimum pace, but the fact that I could put in 7 129s in a row, I knew I could go better, and qualifying is where I could do that. I bottled my qualifying in the previous race, and that just put me on the back foot for the whole time. But if we have a look at the next slot, less players, I do believe this is still second split, but I'm in 11th this time. And I've got my good friend, Nitro, in 15th. He was streaming at the time.
Enemy spotted.
Right, so we're going to go out for the qualifying session. Let's try and get a better lap. So, we're going to come out of the pits. I don't have slipstream. I have Diego right behind me, but historically I've seen that I'm a little bit faster overall than Diego. So, I had the choice of dropping in behind him and getting slipstream, but I decided no. I'm going to try and replicate what I was doing in the practice session there. I'm never going to be quite as quick, just because we've got tyre wear here, and it's 10 times tyre wear at that. But I thought if I could just drive the same as I did in the practice session, I'll probably get quite a good lap. So I'm going to take you through a lap of Interlagos. Looking on the left-hand side, it's the second red canopy on the left. Second gear for turn 1, use this curb on the inside, and then a burst of power, short shift up to third, and cut turn 2 as much as possible while keeping 2 wheels on the curb. Turn 3, hug that curb all the way around, it pulls the car around the corner and gets you a nice quick slingshot down the Rita Riposta. Following braking point for turn 4 is the 100 meter board. It's just after with full tyre wear on the softs, which I decide to push in this instance, and I managed to nail it perfectly. Turn 5, once again, hug that curb, it pulls the car around the corner. Heading up towards Ferradura, looking on the left-hand side, just before the 50 meter board, down into 4th, down into 3rd. Hug the inside, short shift up to 4th, and try and get a nice grippy power. Braking just as we meet the curb on the left, and you can cut turn 8 a lot. Turn 9 is just a dab brake, try and keep it tight onto the power early, up towards Bica de Pato, and then braking just as the curb starts on the right. Nice late apex for this corner, this slowest corner on the track, and try and get a nice straight exit as we head down towards turn 11, just feather the throttle, short shift up to 4th, use the curb. Looking on the right hand side, just as the grass starts before the 50 meter board, 2nd gear to get a slingshot down the straight. Little bit of oversteer, but we correct it. There is a lap of Interlagos, and we just try and hug turn 14 quite tight. You can use the curb. Curbs are really good in this game. It pulls the car around the corner, and this is technically the final turn, turn 15, but it's really flat out. Over on the left to minimise distance. Boom, 129.6. Oh man, I've got to say, that was probably one of the most polished and best qualifying laps I feel like I've ever put in. No slipstream, and I'm only a 10th off pole. But as always with the Manufacturers series, with the main race, let's enjoy the beautiful introduction. Beautiful as always, and glad to have it back. But here we go, have a look, up in 3rd at the end of that qualifying session there, being pipped for pole position by a couple of other players, but I'll happily take that. And you can see I'm starting on the medium tyres, so ordinarily you'd start on the softest tyre possible if you were this far to the front of the grid, but given the tyre wear is so high, you just eat through your soft tyres with your heavy fuel load at the start. So in this particular instance, the medium tyres is probably the way to go at the start, and I think the two ahead are actually on the soft tyres. You can see as we head through the Centre S for the first time, they're already 6/10 ahead. The guy behind, not sure what he's doing, but he's dropping out of slipstream too, so I've broken the slipstream to 4th, and the guys ahead are like 2 tenths off breaking the slipstream from me. On the exit of turn 4, have a look up at that time gap there, it's 6.5 tenths, there's only 1 tenth to go. And honestly, I kind of hope to stay in the slipstream of these two a little bit longer than I did as we head through turn 6 and 7. Have a look at that. It's 7 tenths basically the gap to the guy in 2nd. And there you go, as we head through turn 9, it is over 8 tenths, up towards 9 tenths at this point. So there you go, have a look. Over 8 tenths on a straight bit. They've broken the slipstream already. That's quite quick to break the slipstream, so I definitely think they're on the soft tyres at this point. So that's really, you know, it's not good, because I felt as though I could qualify in 3rd, but if I could stay in the slipstream of these two, potentially a race win could be on the cards. But at that point I realised they're on the soft tyre, and that's honestly where the race sat for ages. So this is lap 6, where we're beginning to see pit stop phases. The 2 leaders on the soft tyres going after 6 laps. I endeavour to do 7 laps, so hopefully we can overcut a little bit as we come in on the following lap. And we were on the medium tyres the whole time. We are going to go onto the hard tyres. So same strategy as last time, no refueling. Medium tyres for the middle portion of the race. I want to be on soft tyres at the end so I can catch up any gaps. The field is most spread at the end, so there's the least amount of chance of traffic. And you've got only the fuel you need to get that soft stint done. You're not carrying around excess fuel for later in the race. So that's why I left the soft tyres to the end. But I'm on the hard tyres at the moment, and we come out just ahead of this Mercedes, and I let him past here, or he's probably going to get past anyway, but I didn't force the issue. I thought, I'm on the hard tyres, I don't know what tyres he's on, but let's use his slipstream to fuel save a little bit extra. So As we head up through this middle sector, fuel saving techniques I'm going to use. I'm going to short shift just before 50%, and I could potentially even use fuel mapping in the middle sector here. Lift and coast as well, so just before your braking point, lift off the accelerator and let the car roll towards that last 50 meters or so before your braking point. Let the car roll. You save fuel by doing that. So this, of course, while I wasn't really intending to fuel save at all in this race, I will take this opportunity behind this slower car to fuel save and reduce the time I'm stopped in my refuel in the second pit stop there. But as we round out the final corner, I nearly get a lot of oversteer. I say I nearly get a lot. I did get a lot, nearly crash is what actually happened, but we're going to have a look at an example. So I'm in the slipstream of the Mercedes, coming up towards turn 1. There we go, fuel map 6, just to stop that overspeed. I don't want to brake too late and then lift and coast just before the braking point, and you can see we get that stopped nicely, and we've saved fuel there, so that's lovely. As we head through Centre S, it really remained the same kind of situation up until lap 10. As we're coming into the middle sector of lap 10, we also passed somebody in the pit lane, which is why we're now in 3rd and 4th. But as we're coming through this middle sector, I've kind of realised at this point he's probably on the hard tyres too, and because he was already on the track when I came out of the pits, they're at least 1 lap older than my hard tyres. So the grip difference between us two is probably going to be quite a lot. So I did kind of expect to catch up to him at some point, and all through this middle sector of this lap here, of lap 10, I felt as though I was losing so much time behind him. So I made the decision here, it's time to overtake him. So as he gets a little bit of oversteer on the exit there, that's going to help us get a nice run, and we are actually catching attention of the guys behind me who are now in my slipstream. So he indicates over to the right, letting me know he's going to head right. I whack on my hazards so he can see them as I go past. Thank you for letting me pass. He obviously felt that he was holding me up and there was no point doing so. Right at the same time, I made the decision I was going to go past him anyway, but that move is complete. We get a nice clean move up into turn 1 to start off lap 11, and as we round out turn 3, have a look behind. That gap has opened up to 4/10, and he actually makes a bit of a mistake there. It's opened up to 5/10 at this point. We're going to have a look. We're going to flash ahead to lap 12 as one of the 2 leaders goes in from 12 seconds ahead of me, so they're going for the undercut on the other player. They've obviously been battling door to door for the whole race, so we're up in 2nd for 1 lap, but the next lap is our pit stop and our final pit stop in lap. So we have a look, soft tyres, and it's just over 50% fuel we need to get to the end. This car was pretty, you know, the diamond was pretty accurate in this case here, so I can fuel right up to the diamond, no more is required, and I will comfortably get to the end. I think I did go marginally over the diamond on that particular instance, but I'd rather have a little bit of fuel benefit, a little bit of a fuel buffer, rather than have to save a little bit. So you can see as we exit the pits, the Mercedes has got his way back past, but I've got a similar story to the previous lap. I knew I had to keep this position from the Lamborghini. He wasn't quite as close as Iron Mask was in the previous race, so we managed to keep that position there. And it kind of remained the same kind of situation. We caught up to the Mercedes. I knew I was faster than this guy, especially on my brand new soft tyres, so we quite easily made my way past there. And that's where I thought this race would finish. I thought I'd be in 3rd. No, we skip ahead, lap 17, have a look behind. GT Mag has caught up to me out of nowhere. I thought I had 3rd in the bag. Like, honestly, I passed the Mercedes and was driving away from it, and I thought, well, that's it. It's going to be quite a lonely affair to the end of the race. I'm going to bring home a podium. That's not quite how things happened, and this is the thing, you know, you have no idea what strategies every other player is doing, and someone could honestly just pull a blinder of a strategy. I haven't checked the replay at this stage here recording commentaries, we'll do so later, but I've got no idea how he did it, but he's just come out of nowhere. He's in the Peugeot, and he's pacey as all anything. He's just so quick. I'm the lightest I've ever been in the race, on the softest tyre available in the race, and that Peugeot is just an absolute rocket. So I don't know if he's managed to get an extra lap on his slower tyres so he can get a really short, sharp, really quick final stint on the softs. I don't know if that's what he's done, but whatever he did do has absolutely caught me off guard. He's just blown my mind with strategy, and he's now 2/10 behind, and I've got 2 and a bit laps to go to try and defend this 3rd position, and because we've only got 2 laps to go, I want to defend for my life. So as we head in towards the final corner, the main thing I'm worried about is a move into turn 1, because he's got slipstream all the way down the straight, and a move into turn 4 at the end of the Rita Riposta. If you can get a good run out of centre S and the slipstream, you can potentially do a late braking manoeuvre into turn 4, so I'm wary of that too. So whatever I do, I'm going to defend. They're the 3 words the most important in my mind right now. So over on the left-hand side, just as he catches up to the back of me, he darts to the outside, back to the inside as I take the racing line, but I managed to brake just late enough. There's actually a little bit of contact between the two as I ran slightly deep and had to cut back quite slowly. You're just seeing what has happened to this Supra at the moment. The tyres are gone right off, and he's right under my rear wing at this point, so I go all the way over to the left hand side, and he sticks it over to the left just behind me until the last second. I don't have time to go back to the racing line, and he undercuts me. He completely cuts me back on the exit of turn 4, and I can tell already as I'm understeering over onto the right of the track, he's absolutely shot up ahead of me, actually as he clips the AstroTurf on the exit of turn 6, but on the entry to turn 6 rather. But as we're coming through this middle sector, I can tell he's got so much grip in that Peugeot as he gets the power down beautifully out of turn 8. Turn 9 once again, look at that, he's just driving off into the distance. He's broken slipstream. That was the end of the race. It was 4th, and I'm glad there was only 20 laps. If there was 1 extra lap, I probably would have been caught for 4th as well. But we come across the line for 4th. Honestly, it was quite a good race, and I can't be mad at GT Mag for that one. He pulled in an absolute blinder of the strategy and picked up a podium for himself. But we come across with 248 points, which is that's going to be one of my biggest point hauls in manufacturers ever. So that was my final race. I didn't do any more after that one. I was quite happy with that. Even though I did lose a position in the race, it was still quite a good race at that, and I felt as though I was pretty pacey in that Supra. So it just goes to show, I think everyone else was just faster than me. I didn't really make any glaring errors in that race. So I also didn't really feel like I performed any worse than what I could possibly do at that race there. So I left it. Look at that, 248 points. I do hope you enjoyed this one today. Do hit that like button if you did, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Do leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.